They said money was more important than family. Then they discovered the anonymous person saving their lives was the son they had abandoned. The day my parents chose my rich cousin over me was the day I stopped feeling like their son. I still remember standing in our family living room, holding a small envelope in my hands. Inside was my college acceptance letter. It was the biggest achievement of my life. I had worked 2 jobs, studied late nights, and sacrificed everything just to get that opportunity. I walked toward my parents with a smile on my face. Mom, Dad, I got accepted into Westbridge University. For a moment, I thought they would celebrate. I thought my father would hug me. I thought my mother would cry happy tears. But instead, my father looked at me silently and said, "That's good, but your cousin Michael just bought his first luxury car." I froze. My excitement disappeared instantly. Michael was my uncle's son, the golden child of the family, the person everyone admired because he had money, expensive clothes, and connections. My parents always compare me to him. Michael had the perfect life, and I was always the disappointment. My mother smiled proudly and said, "Michael is going places. He understands success. You should learn something from him." Those words hurt more than I could explain, because they didn't just admire him. They replaced me with him. Growing up, I never understood why my parents treated Michael differently. Whenever he visited, they prepared his favorite meals. They praised his achievements. They told neighbors about his success. But when I achieved something, they barely noticed. When I graduated high school with honors, my father said, "Grades don't matter. Money is what matters in life." When I got my first job, my mother said, "Michael already owns a business. You are still working for someone else." Every conversation became a competition I could never win. I wasn't their son anymore. I was just the person they compared to their rich nephew. But the worst moment came when my grandmother passed away. She left behind a small inheritance. Nothing huge, just enough money to help someone start a new life. I thought maybe my parents would support me. Maybe they would finally believe in me. But during the family meeting, my father shocked everyone. He said, "We decided Michael deserves Grandma's money. He knows how to invest. He will make the family proud." I looked at him in disbelief. "But Dad, Grandma always wanted me to have chance." My mother avoided my eyes. She simply said, "Michael has bigger dreams. You should understand." That was the moment something inside me broke. It wasn't about the money. It was about knowing that my own parents believed someone else's future was more valuable than mine. That night, I packed my bags. I didn't scream. I didn't argue. I didn't ask them why. Because sometimes the hardest goodbye is the one you never say. I left my childhood home with one suitcase and a broken heart. I promised myself one thing. I would build a life where nobody could make me feel worthless again. The next few years were brutal. I slept in a tiny apartment. I worked 14-hour days. I failed. A lot. There were nights when I had barely enough money for food. There were moments when I wanted to call my parents. But every time I remembered their words, "Michael knows how to succeed. Learn from him." So I kept going. I started a small technology company with borrowed money and an old laptop. Everyone told me I would fail. Even my former friends laughed. But slowly, something changed. My company started growing. One client became 10. 10 became hundreds. And after years of struggle, I became successful. Not overnight. Not because of luck. Because I refused to quit. 5 years later, my life was completely different. I was no longer the forgotten son. I was the CEO of a company worth millions. I lived in a beautiful house. I traveled around the world. But there was one thing money couldn't buy: a family that believed in me. I never contacted my parents. Not because I hated them, but because I wanted to know if they would ever miss me. Then one morning, I received a phone call. It was from an unknown number. "Hello, is this Daniel?" "Yes, who is this?" The voice on the other side sounded nervous. "Your father is in the hospital." My heart stopped. For years, I had imagined this moment. I imagined feeling angry. I imagined saying I didn't care. But when I heard those words, I felt something else. Pain. Because no matter how much someone hurts you, a part of you still remembers they're your family. I rushed to the hospital. When I arrived, I saw my parents sitting in a small room. They looked older, tired, broken. Nothing like the confident people who once rejected me. My mother looked at me and started crying. "Daniel." I didn't say anything. My father looked away. The man who once told me money was everything couldn't even look me in the eyes. The doctor walked in. "Are you Daniel Carter?" "Yes." He smiled. "We need to thank you." I was confused. "Thank me?" The doctor looked at my parents. "Your anonymous payments covered their entire treatment. Without your financial support, we couldn't have continued." The room became silent. My parents looked shocked. My father whispered, "Wait, what?" The doctor continued. "The person who paid all their hospital bills wanted to remain anonymous. But now we know it was you." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "Daniel, you paid for everything?" I looked at them. After all those years, after everything they had done, I still couldn't let them suffer. I simply said, "Yes." My father started crying. The same man who once ignored my dreams. The same man who chose Michael over me. Now he was sitting in front of me, realizing the son he abandoned was the one who saved his life. He whispered, "Why would you help us after what we did?" I looked at him and answered, "Because you taught me something." He looked confused. I continued, "You taught me that family isn't about what people give you. It's about who you become when nobody gives you anything." My mother covered her face and cried. "We were wrong, Daniel." My father held my hand. I spent my whole life chasing success. I thought Michael's money made him valuable. I didn't realize the real success was standing in front of me. A few days later, I discovered something shocking. Michael had disappeared, the cousin they chose over me, the person they believed was the future of the family. His company had collapsed. All the luxury cars, the expensive lifestyle, everything was gone. I found out he had been living a lie for years. His success was built on debt. His business was failing. And while everyone believed he was rich, the person they ignored was the one who actually built something real. Months later, my parents asked me for forgiveness. They didn't ask for money. They didn't ask for my success. They simply asked for another chance to be my parents. And this time, I made the decision, not because they deserved it, but because I didn't want their mistakes to control my heart forever. I forgave them, but I never forgot, because forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It means choosing peace over pain. Years later, my parents would tell everyone the same story. They would say, "We thought money made someone valuable. We were wrong." The richest person in our family wasn't the one with the biggest bank account. It was the one with the biggest heart. And the son they abandoned became the person who saved them. The child they underestimated became the person they needed the most. Because sometimes, the people who ignore your worth today are the same people who will one day discover your true value. And when that day comes, your success won't need an explanation. Your actions will speak louder than your words. Because the greatest revenge isn't making people suffer. The greatest revenge is becoming someone they never thought you could become.